right here on WCRS Radio. I have a terrific guest for you here today. So I hope you are going to sit back and pay attention this afternoon. I am Ann Eller. This is WCRS Radio. And I have Kip Hunter here. He is a retired colonel in the Air Force, and he has so many things that he has done. There is no way I could introduce him, so here's how he told me to introduce him. He is the husband of his lovely wife, Laura Hunter. He is also, his brother-in-law is John McCravey, and he's just along for the ride. I guess you could say that.
I'm loving being in a small town.
That's right. That's right. So how are you doing today, Kip?
Doing well. Doing well.
You know, it has to have been a most fantastic life you have had with all the experiences. And now to be sitting here today, right here at WCRS, or watching the news, seeing what's happening, getting together with buddies that you have known over the time, to look back and look at where we're at today, it has to be a most interesting time for you.
I had a terrific career that I just am so thankful for, and had such a broad area that I can get upset about what's going on across a whole big broad range of things.
Really?
So, but yeah, so it is. And there are more than one of us that kind of hang out and talk about the good old days. But mostly, I think we're just. It's not our turn. We did the best we could on our turn, and now it's somebody else's turn. So it's interesting to watch. We all have opinions. My wife doesn't let me watch TV much when things are, on the news. I there for 4 years under Biden. I wasn't allowed to watch the news because her comment used to be, "They can't hear you,
Yeah, right. Yes, I can understand that. But still, I mean, to do some of the things and be involved in. You have extensive combat experience as a fighter weapons instructor, mission force leader, or flight lead with 56 combat missions during Desert Storm, over 300 combat missions as a combat advisor. You've been to El Salvador. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. I'd almost think I was talking to my husband, Jeff.
Yeah, well, What happens is, and you and I kind of talked on this, once they clear you, once you have the clearance, and right. I had a fabulous clearance, by the way, which is what it took to get into Area 51. And once they've done that, then they'll say, well, okay, we need this, and you're the guy that has the clearance. And you go, yeah, but I don't know anything about that. He says, yeah, but we don't have time to get somebody else to go do that, so you're our best guess. And so I've been thrown into some things that I thought were, I got thrown into the deep end more than once.
Right.
My comments on more than one, okay, God, you got this? And then just do the best you can. And so I think that's, it's held me in good stead, and I'm lucky to still be sitting here, actually.
Yes. Well, we are on WCRS 98.5 FM on Facebook Live. We're also on the radio here today, so make sure you're tuned in on WCRS to catch us. I see Kip right here on the air with us, so for those that say you can't see it, maybe you need to switch over to WCRS Radio. So I'm Ann Eller. We're going to have a great conversation. Kip spoke to me about a week ago, and he goes, Ann, I'd really like to come over and tell the story about what Trump is doing and how and why what he is doing and why we're there. It is the right time to be here. So what do you say, Kip?
Well, so I watch the news, and I don't just watch one set of news. I try to be as broad as I can. And when I watch so many things, I feel like I'm on a different planet, or I don't see how I can watch CNN and go, are you kidding me? Are we talking about the same thing? Because they're just, it's such a it's almost like they've made stuff up. They have a bubble that is in the world the way that they would like it to be, not in the world the way it is. And the one thing about being in the military that you learn is there's a whole lot of stuff that you would like it to be. Gee, it sure would be nice if this happened. And it would be great if everybody would just do this. But when they don't, you have two choices. You can either make them or you can convince them, okay? And those are the two choices you have. One's called negotiation, and one is called negotiation with strength.
Right.
Okay? So I'm watching all of this, to include even some of our own Republican people, and I mean, everybody's going, well, there was no this and there was no that, and golly, we didn't have this all organized, and there's not. Well, nobody's going to tell you what they're going to do. When you go into a fight, you don't say, I'm about to hit you with my left hand.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So, the one thing that people are missing is you'll hear things like, well, Iran's the largest sponsor of terrorism. I had an office at the counterterrorist cell in the basement of the CIA for 3 years. So I'm a little bit aware of that. And one of the things that people miss is, everybody knows about Khobar Towers, and they know about, which is in Saudi Arabia, and a lot of people know about the Marine barracks in Beirut. But, I have a short list here of another 45 things where the Iranian government, through either Hezbollah or the Houthis or somebody, was killing somebody. They killed Americans. 603 is what the minimum of the number of soldiers that they killed in Iraq. I remember when the IEDs, which are the improvised explosives, and so we armored up some of our vehicles. Well, the Iranians were providing a copper-based, a better explosive instead of what they had that was penetrating our armor. And so that was just anyhow. So these are bad people, not the Iranian people. They're Persians. I actually like the Iranian people quite a bit.
Yeah, Iranians are the Persians.
Iranians are the Persians.
Persian. Okay.
Correct. But the Ayatollahs are their government, and their government is a theocracy, and the theocracy does not represent the people. It does not represent anything other than they want to be, they wish to bring about the end times. I don't know if you know anything about the Islamic way. That particular group, there's what they call the 12th Imam. And so in the end times, there's a big battle. Just like we call it Armageddon, they have the same thing. Right. And during that, the 12th Imam comes in, and then they win. That's the difference between our version and their version. Okay? So one of the things that people don't understand is that the group that went into Iran in I guess they went in 79. It was November 79. When the student revolution went into the U.S. embassy and captured the embassy and held people hostages, and then
before that we had the Shah.
The Shah was kind of our guy over there,
right?
And we had U.S. military people in and out of there quite a bit. In fact, we had a very close relationship with them. I was in squadron officer school with a bunch of Iranians. They're great guys. They flew Tomcats and F-4s and stuff like that, kind of similar to the U.S. And it was all U.S. equipment. And basically there was a revolution, started in the universities, like where most of these things start, right? And then they got some outside help, of course, from the Russians and so it was a lot of communists in there at the time. Then the next thing that happened was you had Ayatollah Khomeini was in Paris, and he came in, and it would be like you and I were talking earlier. It would be like Trump going away, and all of a sudden the Pope shows up and says, "Okay, now we're all the Pope." And so he would bring with him.
So the Pope is now in charge.
Is now in charge, and he's the president. He's the head of the church. He's the head of everything. And what's going to happen? He's going to bring in all of his people, and they're going to be his kind of people. And it just so happened that Khomeini was one of the what I would call more right-wing conservative, not conservative. It's not even conservatives. In Islam, depending upon what you read in the Quran, there's a lot of different interpretations on that. And there are some interpretations that are quite nice and seem to make kind of sense. And there are a lot of them that start getting very, very dark.
Right.
And this is the dark side.
So this is the dark side.
This is the dark side. Absolutely. I couldn't say it any better. I mean, this is Darth Vader on his best day with the, with the wizard guy or whatever. I don't watch all that. But anyhow, and so he took over. And the people...
And how did he take over? Just because he just walked in and said, I'm in charge? What happened?
Basically, the Shah left. And when the Shah left, all of his people left. And when they left, there was a big vacuum. Anytime there's a vacuum, you're gonna fill a vacuum with something, right?
Right.
And so this guy came in. The actual details on what was the outside influences and who was actually helping, Khomeini and all of that. I was never privy to any of that. Mm-hmm. I know it wasn't us because our guy was the Shah.
Right.
So it had to have been somebody else.
Right.
And then they came in, and then they started this policy of, well, we're going to try to be the good guys, but we're going to make all these other people, and we're going to send them. And that's where you have Hezbollah. That's where you have Hamas. That's where you have the Houthis. That's where you have all these different people that they kind of whip up into their version of the dark side of that religion, and then they get them. They send them out basically. And like I said, I got there's
4 pages.
And here's the thing where a suicide bomber blows up a Jerusalem bus, killing 3 Americans. I mean, I can remember one of the things. It was horrible when I was at the CTC counterterror cell, and they blew up they blew up a toy shop in Jerusalem at 2:00 in the afternoon. Now, if you blow up a toy store at 2:00 in the afternoon, you're trying to kill women and children. Okay,
right?
And they're okay with that. They think nothing of that.
Well, isn't that the real problem with they don't care about life as we care about life? So that makes them very difficult to deal with, doesn't it?
Okay, we'll go there. So it's okay. And I'm not a Muslim. I'm a card-carrying evangelical Christian. Okay, but and my specialty was really Central South America. But I've got a lot of Middle Eastern time. I was the pilot on the Stark incident. I was the this, that, and the other. Desert Storm. I know the region. Been to Israel a bunch of times for business as well as in the military for other things. So the real issue is, the Muslim religion, particularly the dark side, cares about how many good things you've done and how many bad things you've done, how many good thoughts you've had and how many bad thoughts you've had. So the only way that guarantees you getting into paradise is if you are a martyr. So these guys don't mind being martyrs. They're fine with that. In fact, that guarantees them to go to paradise.
Well, isn't that like 9/11, flying into
exactly? No, exactly. And that's why you find mothers, like I said earlier. Mothers will, if their child has a hair lip, you can't get into heaven. You can't get into paradise. It's not heaven. It's paradise. It's different. It's actually a physical place that their paradise is different from our heaven. Okay. You can't get in if you're flawed. That's why they cut hands off of thieves. That's why they behead people. You don't get into paradise if you're flawed in any way. So a young kid that has a hair lip or something, they'll send him out with a bomb on his back to go blow to be a martyr. Now he gets into paradise. That's his only way to get there.
Wow. See, that isn't that the problem with dealing with these people?
Exactly.
We cannot comprehend this.
Not only can't we comprehend this, how do I want to put this too? They are so male dominated, and they are so I won't say ruthless, but if you're gonna, there's a reason that the Lord of the Flies was I know it was a science fiction, but everybody goes, oh yeah, that would happen. It's the Lord of the Flies, where all the boys getting together and all the competition, and then the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Well, it's so male dominated on this. I can find it if you want, but it's in there where the Mullers are going, women are animals. They're simply vessels to produce more Muslim.
And that's why they don't want them educated.
They
don't want any of that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And girl children are
not prized at all.
They're, I mean, I can remember there were things even after we went into Iraq where, and a lot of that was Muslim as well too. So where they would literally throw a child in front of a Humvee and let them be hit, and then come in to demand that, you know, they be taken to America with their, I mean, they literally will sacrifice a child and think nothing of it. It's kind of their mentality over there. And
how are you even able to deal with that? I mean, that has to complicate what we're trying to do over there, like we were talking about the people around the bridges and everything.
Yeah, they're sent there, and that's and if they don't do that, they get beaten. I mean, it's very simple. It's very, very simple. You get sent to go be a shield.
So how do we as Americans deal with this?
Well, so we as American military had to deal with it in Iraq and Afghanistan, and that's part of the reason why so many guys had such an issue after they came back and stuff, is that it's a different world. You have to see things. You see things that nobody else is going to see. Right. You don't want to talk about them. It's just the way things are over there. And then you try your best to do your best with them, and then they lie to you, and then there's nothing you can do about it.
And they don't have any problem with lying. You were
not so.
Me that.
So
yeah,
there's,
yeah.
and there were. So I don't remember where. My bride's going to bump me get mad at me because I said, now where is that? She told me, and now I can't remember. But anyhow, in the Quran, where it says if you can lie to a kafir, an infidel,
right?
You can lie to another Muslim if they're not your version of Islam,
right?
Okay, and in fact, it's expected. It's like we get a little bit of this. It used to be when I was growing up. I'm old. When I was growing up, if you did something that was underhanded, people would kind of shun you because you were, that was underhanded. That wasn't. Right. And kind of nowadays, people look at that and they go, "Oh, that's clever."
Right. Exactly. Exactly,
So I mean, there's been we're getting more like them. They've always thought that was clever. Their Bible, their Quran talks about how that's so clever that they did that they lied and then they won. I mean, you got to remember something else too. Islam is not spread. You're not going to find a Muslim that goes to another country and starts talking about, hey, you need to come be a. No, they don't do that. They do it. They spread Islam through power. They spread Islam through like what I know what's happening in Europe right now. They're all going. Why would they go to a non-Muslim country? Well, so they can outnumber them, so they can become a Muslim country. I mean, I'm serious, and that's just going to happen. And I mean, that's just what's going to happen. You don't find. I can't think of the word right now, but they only spread their religion through conquest. That's the way their religion has always been spread. They've never had any other way. That's how their religion has always been spread.
But we have Muslims here in the United States.
Yes, we do.
And so what's the difference?
I think a lot of the people in the United States are either not the dark side Muslim.
Okay.
And they're kind of, and excuse me for saying this, but they're kind of like a lot of Christians where they go, well, I'm Muslim, but I go through the thing, but I'm not a real, I got to believe in something, so I'll pick this. And one of the things, well, I have to tell you this, there's a lot, I believe Islam is rather satanic, and the reason is because it appeals greatly to the human nature, especially a man's human nature. If there's something I can do so that I can win, then I feel good about me being able to do it. And so with all of the ritual and the 5 times a day and the, yada, 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 and all the rules, hey, it's really simple. You don't have to believe in anything. You just got to go do all the rules. Once you go do all the rules, everything's fine, right? And then if you question yourself, gee, if you just go fly an airplane into a building and kill a bunch of infidels, wow.
You just have really done
Man,
something.
you are somebody.
And you'll be remembered forever for that.
And be remembered forever.
And go to paradise.
So you'll see, actually, if you ever notice the way they sometimes it's on the news where they'll have the body in a casket and they'll be having all these signs and stuff. That's the religious part. This guy's going to paradise. That's their version of, hey, he was a martyr, and so we're going to run him down and have a big bunch of people, and they're all going to, make a lot of noise and clap and do the thing that they do and all that, because that guy's going to paradise. Guaranteed. It's the only guarantee.
So when they killed all those people in all the, what if they said they've killed 30 or 40,000 people over there?
It's the IRGC. Okay, so that's like, think of the best thing I've ever heard about how Iran runs is it's the Pope and then the mafia.
Okay. And
the mafia is the IRGC, and the IRGC protects the theocracy, and they're the guys with guns, and they simply are.
So the people, these people that live under the theocracy, they are not members of this religion.
Well, no, you can be Muslim, of course you can. In fact, I think you have to be over there, and a lot of them probably go through the motions.
Right.
But they're not the dark side, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And let me say this: every Muslim I've met that was an Iranian was mostly in the States.
Right.
And those were never what I would call the hardcore Muslims.
The single focus.
Yeah. Now, the Muslims that I met in the Middle East, there are some that simply, that's their everything. That is they wake up that way. Every waking moment, because remember, it's at the end of your life. Was it good or bad? And so you have a bad thought, man, you better go off and go do something. It was, it's all works. It's a very, very works-based type of religion. And so if that becomes your purpose, if at the end of the day, your version of success is that you had 32 good things and only 25 bad things, then you have to focus on that in order to do that. It's not about a relationship. Their only relationship, and this is what confuses me, is they have Allah, which, by the way, one of the 5 names of Allah is the Great Deceiver.
Okay.
It is.
Right.
It is. That's true.
Right.
And then the other part to this is Muhammad was who is his prophet, okay, is the premier example of what a good Muslim should be. And this guy married a 6-year-old and consummated the marriage when she was 9, and beat women that couldn't, if they couldn't make a baby, that's okay, you're barren, I divorce you. Women were animals to them. They, thought nothing of lying. And then again, there's parts of this in the story about Muhammad where he takes over a whole village because he lies. Oh yeah, we're coming in. We're all going to be. This will be great. And everybody puts their swords down, and then they slaughter everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, how clever!
Right, clever. Yes, there's a way to control and everything.
You bet.
So how because I think this is important background in how we have to deal with Iran here. I mean, President Trump has, this is the deadline, and then he backs up a little bit, and then he backs up.
Well,
I think a lot of people, we don't understand. I don't understand it. I'm like, if we're going to have to do this anyways, let's just go ahead and get it done.
So that's actually a great question. So there's the historical diplomacy that we've done with Iran. Okay.
Like giving them lots of money.
Giving them lots of money, telling them, hey, we make a deal here, you guys can do that. I mean, all of these different things. And we've had a lot of historical stuff. And by the way, left and right, and we fell for it.
Right.
We fell for it every time.
Because it's okay to lie to us.
Well, not just that. They're bullies. And you have two choices when you learn this as a young man in the in a playground. You get two choices: either put up with the bully, don't mess with him, or you go up and you smack him as hard as you can,
right,
and take him. And that's your only two choices. There is no negotiating with a bully. Okay, that's first and foremost. So the best way to describe Iran is they're bullies. They always have been. They've been bullies in the whole rest of the Middle East is worried about what Iran's going to do because they're the bullies, right? So what it really comes down to is the last 5 or 6 or so presidents of the United States have basically kicked the ball down, kicked the can down the road, and they have been what I would call negotiating the downfall of America. And I think Trump goes, we're going to win. And the only way you win is you go in and you punch the bully in the face as hard as you can.
And that's when they started this.
That's when they started this. So that was, we were trying to talk to him. We said, look, we're going to give you all their nuclear stuff to be able to do peaceful nuclear. Peaceful nuclear requires about 2 to 3% of it being enriched. Okay. Right. They kept saying, well, we don't have anything that's much more. We don't have much more than that. Well, they had to because we knew how many places where they were trying to do this.
Right.
The Israelis kept telling us, hey, these guys are doing a lot more than what they're telling you. But you could choose to believe the lie. Okay?
And sometimes that's what people want to do.
Exactly. Because it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
Now, real quick aside. When you're in the military, I came in the military in 1974, okay? I was America first then because people didn't want to be in the military, okay?
Right.
I mean, I can remember being told,
that was just right after we had done away with the draft, right?
You bet. Yes, it was. It was right in that time frame. But the choice was you either decided that you were going to be America first or you found something else to do.
Right.
Okay. And so from my perspective, I kind of got off subject there, but what I was trying to tell you was from a military's perspective, believing the lie only makes it worse. And they get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Sure.
So if you're going to confront somebody, you confront them when they're the weakest. They had been having a problem. The people had risen up, right? Mm-hmm. They killed about 40,000 of them from what I was told. And I believe that, although that's not even mentioned in like CNN or MSNBC. They don't even tell you how many people that the IRGC killed. And then you start looking at it and you listen to your allies, which Hamas is awesome. I've worked with Hamas actually quite a bit, and in a previous life, and they're very good, and so their intelligence is very good. I mean, they actually stole some of their stuff, and then Bibi Netanyahu got on and showed it to the world, and people just went, yeah, but I don't want to know that truth. I don't want to know that.
Isn't that the problem? We don't really want to know what's going on.
Well, the Democrats don't.
For sure.
Half the Republicans don't.
Right.
But anybody who cares about the rest of the world and where we fit in it does. Mm-hmm. You have to.
Correct.
I mean, you just have to. And by the way,
Jeff used to say you can't look away.
You can't.
And that people used to always tell Jeff, can't you just look away, Jeff? And he'd go, I can't.
That's kids in a playground. Little boys in a playground is the way the international. That's the best analogy. Just watch a bunch of little boys in a playground, and you're going to find that there's the benevolent, guy that's strong, and everybody hangs out with him, and there's the bully, and everybody. I mean, so again, it's a good analogy. It really is. But as you get going with these particular people, what happened, and this is important with the sequence. So we're talking with them. They're saying, "Oh, we don't really have any." And the Israelis come and tell us, "Hey, look, they do, and
they're lying.
Here's pretty much where we think it is." And so we do Operation Midnight Hammer.
Right.
Right. So we do
and
operation.
it was everybody was so excited to have done that.
We did
yay,
it.
we did it.
Okay, so then the next thing is they're still doing stuff, and we're going, wait a minute, we're watching you guys try to reconstitute what we just
Destroyed.
told you not to do.
Right.
What are you doing? And so at one of the early after Midnight Hammer negotiations, their opening conversation was, hey, you guys don't know this, but we have X number of pounds or whatever of 60% enriched uranium, and we got enough to make 10 or 11 bombs whenever we want to. So 60% is not enough, okay? 2 to 3% is what you need for peaceful stuff. In other words, if you're doing a fast breeder for electrical power, 2 to 3%.
Right.
60%, and it takes a lot longer to get from 2 to 3% to 60. That's a long, hard 60 to 90, which is where you have a nuke. A couple weeks, maybe 10 days. Okay.
So they were getting really close.
10 days.
Yeah.
When they came in and told us, first off, they tell us there's none. Then they walk in and swagger in and go, well, hey guys, we already have this much. And there's just nothing you can do about it, and that's all ours. So they go back and go, gee, boss,
what are we going to do, boss?
they're not listening. And so, again, you either try to negotiate with the bully, right? I mean, you try to get out of his way and let him have his way and all that. But at some point, you got to punch him in the face. And so that was the only option. I mean, when
Trump went in and we just
day one, well, first off, I've never heard of starting a war during the day. We haven't done that in a gazillion years, and that was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Brilliant because?
Well, it took out all the senior people. I mean, it cut the head off the snake. I mean,
right.
So and
well, they had to have known where they all were, though, right?
Yeah, but how do I? We only knew that because of because of Mossad.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Mossad. Okay.
Yeah, Mossad would have told us that.
Right.
We probably would not have guessed that.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been. There's things we do sometimes that we pick up somebody talking on a phone or something.
Right.
I mean, sure. I was in the intelligence community for a long time, so there's different ways where you get a sense of. But I mean, when you absolutely know that everybody's going to be there at 9 o'clock in the morning. At such and such a house for their morning meeting of all the senior people,
right.
You almost have to go, well, if I'm going to punch them in the nose, I'm just going to punch them in the nose and the teeth and the mouth and the face and everything else all at once.
That's right.
And so now a couple 2,000-pound bombs, which, by the way, 2,000-pounder does a 60-foot hole 30-foot wide or a 30-foot hole 60-foot wide. Okay? Your choice.
Right.
Those are your two choices. And you throw a couple of those down there, and all of a sudden, problem solved initially. Now, and it's kind of was a great thing, and it's kind of a bad thing.
Right.
Because what you have now is the Pope saying, hey, that's their new, I don't know if this guy's gay or not, but I mean, the Khomeini's son
is supposed to be gay, is what they're saying.
Supposed to be whatever.
Right.
So he's
injured on top of that.
Oh gosh,
right?
yes. Oh gosh, yes. He's probably missing parts pieces, but aren't we all? Yeah. So anyhow,
well, he's not going to get into paradise then, is he?
Well, that might be a problem for him.
Right.
That
exactly.
might be a problem for him. Is my point. So his group of people, that would be like the Pope's folks, saying, you kind of knocked us around a lot. We see that you can pretty much do whatever you want to. But the mafia's going, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to give up the power because as soon as you guys come in, we're done.
We're dead.
We're toast.
Yeah, right.
You bet. We're not going to let that happen. Now, and that is kind of an issue because normally you can talk to one guy and he can say, yep, that's it. We'll go do this. That's what Trump basically said. Hey, we're not coming to this last negotiation. He called it off. He says, you guys need to sort this out because you said yes. We told everybody yes. And then you had a couple gunboats go take on a tanker.
Right.
Is it yes or is it no? You guys go fix that. Not our problem. You guys go fix that. So the IRGC is probably trying to do, my guess, can't confirm this, but my guess is they're probably going to go do a coup or they're going to try to do a coup, and it's not going to work. Now, the IRGC has called in all of these groups from Hezbollah, Hamas, Syria, from southern Lebanon and stuff. They're all in Tehran. It's the only place they're at.
Okay.
Okay, and there's a bunch of, consider that other gangs of the mafia, and they're there to stop the people from uprising.
Okay.
Okay, so that's your circumstance now. So Trump's really smart, I think, going, dudes, we're not going to negotiate with two of you. You're a big country. Figure it out. You guys sort it out. Because, by the way, I'm not letting you make any money. You guys are losing half a billion a day.
Right.
Okay, and guess what? If all your oil, which is where they get most of their funding,
that island or something.
well,
yeah.
Karg Island.
Right,
So in
okay.
Karg Island, they've got all these big places that hold the oil, right? As soon as they fill those up, there's no place else to put the oil. They have to start doing. There's a thing that you do when you're pumping for oil, and I'm probably going to get this wrong because there's somebody that's in this business that's going to go, no, that's not right. But basically, in order to keep the pipes open, they run salt water through them.
Right.
Okay. Well, now you're pumping salt water, so the way oil is pumped out anyhow, it's a big pool, right, in a big cavern down underneath the ground. You're pushing it up, so you start pumping a bunch of salt water in there. You're basically making a mess of your oil. The next time you're pumping up oil, it's going to take a while to get the crap oil away, cleaned out before you get to the good stuff. So it really starts hurting them. I think Trump isn't going to hit them anymore because there are things that stop the Iranian people from being successful if they take over. In other words, right now, I don't want the mullahs to. So we could take them back to the Stone Age. I assure you, we monstered these people. Okay, we did this in Desert Storm. I mean, we lost a lot more airplanes than we have now, but in Desert Storm, I mean, we just monstered these guys. It's like, are you kidding me? Night 3, I was capping Baghdad, going, come on, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. You know, I mean, seriously. So we are literally the most lethal thing on a battlefield. Period. Dot. In fact, most of the time when somebody gets hurt, it's a friendly fire. You saw that with the F-15s in Iran, the tanks in the Iraqi War and Desert Storm. It was all friendly fire where we took somebody out. We're just that good. We just are. And so.
So how do we get to the point? You and I were talking earlier. You think it should be maybe 5-10 days before?
10 days. 10 days. Because if you're not paying anybody, how long are they going to stay around? There's nothing to eat. I mean, you got to realize we've pretty much taken the place out.
Well, what about China? Wasn't China sending a...
They were trying to.
So
Okay. They did. But we said no. We said no. I mean, I just got to tell you this. People aren't even thinking about this. So China's our big adversary in the world. When I say to you that I think Trump's going for the win, okay, Venezuela's where they got a bunch of their oil. Iran's where they got a bunch of their oil. They don't produce their own oil. Okay, they buy coal from Australia.
China doesn't produce.
China does not produce any of their own oil.
Right.
They don't. They have to buy it. Right. They get some from Russia. Russia's nothing but literally. Russia is a gas station with the GDP of Texas. That's Russia. Period. That's really one of their only things that they have. Iran is another place where they get some, and then Venezuela. Well, we shut down Venezuela.
Okay.
We're taking their landing rights out of not only Venezuela, but they're not allowed to come and land now in Cuba.
Right.
Because we're about to take care of that. Now we close the Straits of Hormuz. Where's China getting their oil? I mean, we may have our cost of oil may go up, I don't know, a couple bucks a gallon. How about if you just didn't have any? Do you remember in the 70s under Carter when we had to wait in line?
Get it, when it was certain days you got to get...
It was odd or even, right?
Right.
Remember,
you had to be...
What was the first number in your license plate?
And they'd stand there, no, you can't get any gas.
You can't get any. And the lines were horrific.
Yes.
Guess what's going on in China?
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Absolutely. They're not getting any oil. They're a big country.
Right.
They're not getting any oil.
And they're a very industrialized country.
Very industrialized country. And they get their coal from Australia for the most part.
Okay.
So, again, we just did a couple different things. We shut down the straits,
So
right?
you're telling me that President Trump is actually, or the military President Trump, they're actually being a lot more strategic, and this is more like
yes.
Like a chess game. Well, a chess game.
Did you not see that we just signed agreements with both the Indonesians and we just signed another set of agreements with the Filipinos? So the main sea lanes to get to China go past the Philippines,
Right.
Indonesia, into the Indian Ocean, up the Straits of Hormuz, or it's us on the other side. So yeah. So anybody who says there's no strategy to this is a mongoloid paraplegic idiot. They can't. They probably.
I've never heard it put that way, Kim.
They probably can't tie their shoes.
Really?
No,
Okay.
and they know that, and they're liars. So when you're watching some congressman or something on CNN, and he's going, "Well, I just don't understand that there's not a strategy," you. Excuse my French, but I'm not going to say anything. But
Okay.
I got to tell you something. If your name was Pinocchio, I'd be punching you right now with my nose if I said something like that. Everybody knows what this is. Everybody sees this, particularly
Well, no, and
the
I
Chinese.
don't think, if that was the case, Kip, I mean, I hate to disagree, but if that was the case, if everybody knew this, and everybody knows it, if everybody knew it, then they would be sitting back and not being as angst as the angst that is in our country right now.
I think the problem becomes that the people who are doers don't spend a lot of time talking about it. They
Right.
just do it. And the people that can't tie their shoes spend a whole lot of time talking about it, but they can't do it. And so that's what you have. And so the people that are doing, and the people that talk about it are talking. And when you're listening to a conversation, I'm retired. I have time to
Right.
call my friends and get on, text them and, hey, bro, what's happening here? And what do you think? And
Right.
what about those F-15
Now,
guys?
he's probably got all these back channels, too.
I have a few. I mean,
Yeah,
like I said,
right.
but so you get what's really going on.
Well, isn't that the problem, though, is that we don't really know what's going on.
No, the mainstream media, I'm telling you, they all have their same echo chamber. They're all told. In fact, one of the things that I'm not particularly even a Fox guy, to be honest with you, because there's some things they don't talk about. I mean, there was stuff going on where they don't want to talk about that
Right.
either. There were places in the world that we should have been anyhow, I won't go into that side.
Right.
But what ends up happening is Fox will show a thing and everyone, MSNBC, CBS, they'll all say exactly the same line.
Right.
I think that's hilarious because that's what they've been told to say.
Yes, I agree.
And
I
so
agree. Why does the media get to control everything, Kim?
Well, because we used to believe them. You and I talked about this. Your husband came in and was in Vietnam. We never lost a single battle in Vietnam. Not one. Not one. But the mainstream media, particularly, in fact, was Walter Cronkite, who everybody believes said, now we're in an unwinnable war. Well, my dad was over there during Tet. Mm-hmm. So they blew a couple of things up. They knocked some stuff around. They killed a few people. Okay? They didn't win a war. That lasted a couple of days and they left.
Right.
That was it. They didn't move into the cap till we left. It's all about whether or not you're willing to stay on the playground and decide that this part of this playground is mine and I'm going to make it safe for whoever's with me on my side of the playground. And that's what's happening. It really is.
Well, and what about when we left Afghanistan the way we did?
Please don't get me started on that.
Okay, I won't. So I can tell where you're at there.
We were getting texts from, my little brother was over there, for example, and he was getting texts. They're coming door to door. Please, Bill, help me. No. There was probably twice as many vets killed themselves. It was just a problem after the Afghanistan thing than after anything else. because people went over there, saw things that nobody should. You know, when you're over there doing stuff, a lot of times what keeps you going, you know, it's you're at night, you're by yourself. You go, well, you know what? I'm doing this. My son doesn't have to.
Right.
My grandkids won't have to do
Yes.
this. I'm doing this.
Right.
This means something, okay? And then all of a sudden it doesn't. And then all of a sudden you give it away.
And this doesn't compute. It's almost like this does not compute. Yeah.
It's a gut punch. And it is an emotional roller coaster that no one should have to go through. So don't get me started on that one.
Okay, I won't get you started on that one. But, you know, it's just like, well, I guess my point was, at some points it seems like we just give up, you know.
Well, that's the will. The political side of this, we are so spoiled. I mean, I lived in Europe for 3 years. I lived in Australia for 3 years. I lived in so many. In Europe, you'd go and there would be two of something, toothpaste. You could get this kind or that kind.
Right.
You go here, there's a whole wall of it. We're so spoiled rotten.
Right.
With so much.
Right.
That when our gas goes up $2 a gallon, we're all whining. And then nobody remembers that, gee, it was more than that under Biden.
Well, you know, but you also think about World War II when there were all these what was it called, where they rationed stuff off,
and they controlled the media.
Yes,
and the problem becomes, well, I mean, apparently most people didn't even know that Roosevelt was in a wheelchair.
Okay,
they didn't.
Right.
So it was we proved in World War II that propaganda works.
Okay.
And propaganda works. And so the propaganda of the people who there's a whole, sorry, but your news industry is all about clicks and likes and that type of thing. It's not the real world.
Right. Exactly.
It's a bubble. It's let's go
well, it's
live
just like
here.
It's just like when the headlines come up and they don't tell you the whole headline, and if you want to know what's really being said, you got to click on it to know what the rest of the sentence is.
And then at the end you go, well, that wasn't what that said at all.
Right, exactly.
So again, their job is to inform, and in my opinion, for the most part, they not only don't inform, they confuse. And so
but you also have to have a leader that is willing to. It's like when Johnson signed the Vietnam and we got out of Vietnam. He just gave up.
Yeah.
Didn't he? I mean.
Yeah. Well, so that was the Vietnamization of it. And then Nixon actually was the guy who decided that we had to go through. And again, there's the difference between, remember me talking about how you can manage the downfall,
right,
or go for the win.
Right.
Okay. So we've been doing a lot of managing the downfall for a long, long time. After World War II, there was nobody that could take us on. Nobody. And everybody going, well, you know, Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis. We knew for a fact that they did not have ICBMs. In fact, because I was in the National Reconnaissance Office, the National Reconnaissance Office was famous because Kennedy knew 100% that we had intercontinental ballistic missiles and they did not. That's why they needed to be in Cuba, so they could use their short-range missiles. Okay, so from then on, I mean, we were literally the biggest dog ever, and there are people who just don't think we should be. There are people that think America's evil. Sorry, but they just do. They don't know anything. They've never been anywhere else, but for whatever reason, they believe that we're evil. So again, talking about even the ICBM stuff. So the Iranians. Let me go back to that because that was our main subject. So the Iranians said, we don't have any good material. Then they said, well, you know what? We don't have any rockets that go past 1,000 kilometers. Then they shot 2 at Diego Garcia, which is 2,600 or 2,500 kilometers away, which would make it to London. Then they're working on, that's their space program. Well, their space program is a solid rocket. Without trying to build a watch, solid rockets are what we use to get us up pretty high, and then we have liquid fuel, which is how you can modulate. So a solid is like a firecracker. You let it rip and it goes as high as it can. the Iranians would do something where they would launch to the south when they were trying to do their space program. The North Koreans do the same thing. So if you have a small nuclear warhead, about a 10 kiloton, which is what we did in WW2, where we were in Hiroshima, and you could take an ICBM, run it to the south, which is not the best way to get into space, I might add. You always go east. Why? Because that's the way the Earth works and blah, blah, blah. But if you go south, you come over across the South Pole, you pop this nuke about 300 feet high, 300 miles high, as you hit the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, and you do an EMP, and you shut down 80% of the United States from electricity for 5 years.
Wow.
So that is a real threat. Okay,
Well,
so when
that is
people
the
say there
problem.
was no threat, it's because you don't know anything that you think that there's no threat, or you've been told to be stupid and tell everybody that there's no threat, because clearly there's a threat, and everybody knows that the bully is a threat. So they either walk away from him, which is what we did, they try to appease him, or you smack him in the face. And I think Trump did exactly right. And I think what he's doing now is he's letting the Iranian people realize we're not going to support the mullahs. Okay, we're not going to take a bad deal. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's your turn, people. It's your turn. Now, the problem I have is the IRGC's brought all these people in, so they got a lot more guns in Tehran. I'm just not. What happens next? I know what I'd do, but I'm not going to talk about it.
So you feel in the next 5 or 10 days that they'll be coming to the table?
Yes, it's their last chance.
Their last gasp, really.
It's their last chance, because you gotta. People don't just come and hang out and not eat and camp out and things, and without. There got to be an end state, and if you got nothing to pay them, eventually they just go home.
And then you say that you believe then the Iranian people themselves will.
I think anybody who considers themselves Persian,
okay,
is going to rise up. Now, the bad news is, I hate to say this, but according to the Bible, the Ezekiel War, which includes Iran and Russia and Turkey, and about the Ezekiel War. If the mullahs stay in charge, guess what? That's exactly what they want to do. So either this is going to be a respite,
right, and
there's going to be another set of things that go on, or this is going to be a failure, and we're going to do the Ezekiel War. I mean, that's kind of my opinion of this, and I guess I'm okay either way. Like I said, I'm a card-carrying evangelical Christian, so if it says it in the Bible, that's the one thing I know for sure is going to happen.
Wow.
So.
Well, this has been one heck of an hour right here. Sit down and buckle up here. We have been with Kip Hunter. In case you just joined this conversation or just tuned in, you're going to want to go back and watch this, listen to it. Either way, it has been a fantastic conversation here. I hope that you have gotten something out of this and maybe seen a few things in a different light, which was the purpose to doing this here today, is to shine a light on what Trump is doing, and that instead of everybody fighting against, maybe we ought to look at that maybe he does know a little bit with his military what he's doing. Kip, as we finish up here today, what would you like the folks to know as we just close this out? Just
pray and believe. This is the greatest country in the world, and right now we got a boss that has some chutzpah, and he's going for the win, and we need to pray for him, and we need to pray for each other. I mean, no matter what side you're on, you're still an American.
Absolutely.
So that's what you know in the military. Nobody knows anything other than the guy to the left and the guy to the right. Nobody cares what color they are, what their religion is, anything else. It's a great thing to have a common purpose. And the problem I have right now is in America, we don't have a common purpose, and that's a shame.
That is true. I really appreciate you coming out this afternoon. This has been a great conversation. I hope you'll come back and talk to us some more about another topic.
You pick it. Let me know.
All right. That sounds great. We have been with Colonel Kip Hunter, retired, a very fascinating guy. He is the husband of Laura Hunter, yes.
Laura McCravey Hunter.
Laura McCravey Hunter, and John McCravey is his brother-in-law. So now you have all the connections here, right here on WCRS. I am Ann Eller. Penny is sitting here right over my shoulder. She's been good the whole time. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon, and let's wind this up. We'll be back again tomorrow morning right here on WCRS Radio. So we will now drop the curtain, say adieu. I'll see you in the morning. Penny says the show should be called the I Love Penny Show. That's what she's pushing for. Anyways, that'll do it for us. Bye-bye, everybody. Kip, thanks so much for coming in with us here today. Bye-bye.